Hey everyone, and welcome to Wednesdays with Ra. Today is episode 16, and this was a continuation from yesterday last week, because we initially wanted to come on last week and have this topic, but things are always so crazy here. So we didn't get to, but we are here this week with the topic. And the topic is using helpful tools in working with spirit and missions. And so what we thought we would do this week is to work with you guys one-on-one and talk about what you guys do as far as like how you use tools, what tools do you use? And then also what tools do Maggie and I use, and how, when we go on these journeys and these shamanic visionary quests and such, how do we figure things out? How do we use our tools to work with the intuitive information that we've been given? So it'll be very fun and laid back, and we'll see if anyone pops in and has anything to say today. So hi, Maggie.
Hi, everyone.
So the other thing that we wanted to briefly touch on first is that if you're not aware, today is what's called the Hunter's Moon, October 20th. It is a full moon. And so there's a lot of emotions running around today, and we're all very emotional. And so if there's things that have come up for you to focus on that have gotten you a little emotional, it's okay. We're all in the same boat. We're all a little emotional. Today was an up and down kind of rocky emotional day for both Maggie and I. So it's okay if you're emotional. It's perfectly fine. And I don't know if we want to talk about what emotional things have come up and how we can use this full moon to give those emotions a place where we're done with them and we're moving on. It seems like this is what is always happening for us. We're always working with these moon energies and the eclipses and the various positions of the planets. And it's all about learning your lessons, realizing when stuff is not quite fixed and it's coming up again constantly, and working on it. And so eventually, little by little, these things clear, and then you have room for the new energies coming in. And so that's what's been going on this week. And Maggie and I are definitely included in that. So how has this week been for you guys, or how's the last couple of weeks been for you guys? Has it been emotional? What are you dealing with? We want to know. You have anything you want to add, Maggie?
Well, in the spirit of transparency and all of that we're going through, and we've been going through a lot emotionally this week as it is, and the universe keeps on hitting this week. At least it seems like in my life. Literally 10 minutes before, right as we were supposed to go on at 6:30, 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, I got a text from my mom that our family cat had passed away. And just when I thought that this day couldn't get any more emotional, now I'm on live trying to deal with that fresh wave of grief today from the loss of a beloved pet. So please forgive me if my energy is a bit low. I'm trying to show up in the highest vibration for you guys, but that was a surprise to me. But everything that is going on and everything that's happening is a lesson, and I think we're being asked to honor a lot today. In the case where my pet has died, I'm being asked to honor her life. I'm being asked to honor the love that she has brought to our family. I'm being asked to honor the beautiful divine spark that she was on this planet. And as that emotion of grief comes up, a lot of other kinds of grief have been coming up for us lately as well. It seems that a lot of situations that have happened in the past are repeating at this time to make us focus on things. In particular, for me and Temple, I can't speak for her, but it seems like for me and Temple,
You can.
This idea of places in our lives where we've been abandoned by others, times where we've been made to feel small by others, times where we felt that we weren't good enough. Those pieces of ourselves and those parts of ourselves that have felt cast away, that have felt ostracized, that have felt not good enough. It all seems that in our lives right now, at least, that energy is coming to a head, and it's been built up in such a way where we're realizing that maybe we didn't take enough time for those past versions of us to honor what they have gone through and to honor the pain that they have suffered, to help us mold ourselves into the people we've become today. We all always talk about how we need to push forward. Someone pushes you down, you need to get back up. You know, you have to climb the mountain and it's tiring, but how often do we stop to honor the version of ourselves that was on the ground, that was crying on the ground? We focus on the portion of us that moves forward. But it's seeming at this time that those parts that felt lost and defeated and cast out, those emotions are coming up right now to be cleared and healed so that we can make space for something fresh and new. And that's always the theme, is making space for something fresh and new. But I would encourage you all to, if any of these emotions are coming up for you, these feeling abandoned, feeling like you don't fit in, feeling like people may be talking badly about you, that people don't understand you. If you've had those experiences and they're coming up in any way, or you're remembering any of those things and they're making you feel emotional, send some love to those parts of yourself. Give them a big hug and tell them how well they did, and tell them it's okay for them to stop feeling sad or feeling however negatively you were feeling at that time, because I think for a lot of us it's a good time to release all those things. And I hope that I explained that well enough. I don't know if Temple has.
Oh, you did. Yeah, you did. I was thinking about how, as we were going through this the last couple of weeks, Yeshua came to us and he was like, you need to call on me more. And so we had a conversation with him, and he helped us with our energy. But then today I was dealing with a lot of the things that Maggie just spoke about. And I called him in today and asked him if he could just scan my energy field and look to just make sure that either it's me dealing with all these emotions of this full moon versus something on the outside. And I sent him, and just as he was starting to talk to me, this song came on my Pandora, and I had to pause it. And it was a song I had never heard before. And then when he was finished, I went to look at that song, and it was very relevant for the moment. And then when I sent that text to Maggie, and I was telling her, I was trying to explain, Maggie's so good with like explaining her feelings and the emotions that are coming up, where sometimes it's harder for me to pinpoint exactly why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And Yeshua had a good message for us today. He said that, you may have to help me with this. He said something like, you girls have been through so much that sometimes you don't allow yourself the proper time to mourn for those past versions of yourself, right? Is that what he said? Mm-hmm. And he said, so today is a time where you should feel okay, feel comfortable, feel like allowing yourself to do this, because as your road and path meander through your life path, there's people that you meet and you become changed by those people, and it makes you a better you. But in doing that, you realize things that either are really good or really bad. And as you're moving on to that next portion of your life, I think it's really easy for us to just want to be rid of the old stuff so fast. We just want to cast it away without giving it the due honor of how it's worked with us to bring us to our current place and our current understandings and our current feelings. And I wasn't really sure how to do this, because whenever I get into this mode of struggling and then being sad for what was, I feel like I don't know how to necessarily let go of it, because then I just get mad for all the way life has been, and I do this like human pity party thing. And so I wasn't really sure what the highest way possible to go through these emotions and accept yourself for who you are, realizing that it's okay to mourn those pieces of you that have fallen by the wayside. So that's what I've been working with today. And it hasn't been easy. And it's not like just because we are able to have these conversations with random beings that step in doesn't make us any better than anyone who can't, or anyone that's searching for this information. We struggle with the same stuff because there's only beings that come in and help you can only do so much for you. It's you have to do it for yourself. And so we're all on the same path, whether or not, we have gifts, whether or not we feel we don't have gifts, whether or not we feel we have self-worth or we don't feel self-worth. We're all in this together and we're all struggling with something. So it's okay to be struggling right now. That's like the main gist of my long spiel. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Maggie.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like probably very many of us, people who are with us right now, have felt like you've been struggling for a long time. This is what they're telling me. You feel really tired because you feel like, when are the hits going to stop coming? That's how Temple and I have been feeling lately. And it's been really emotional for us. I know we come on here and we try to act like we have some answers and we do our best with the information that's given to us, but man, if they don't test us to get us to this point, if they don't, energy attacks, BS crap in the 3D that you have to deal with, it's the same across the board, whether or not you're the most awakened person in the world or the most asleep person in the world. And for those of us who are awakened and trying to ascend further, it's often even more difficult because as you rise, they give you more and more challenges. And I think a lot of us feel beat down from this year thick with challenges. And even though we may be mourning those parts of us, allowing ourselves to mourn those parts of us that went through those things, we should celebrate those parts of ourselves too. At the same time, if we need to cry for them, if we need to release emotion for them, we only are who we are today because those past versions of ourselves did get back up. And because those past versions of ourselves did experience those hardships and did cry all the tears that they were crying. So celebrate yourself in this full moon energy. Celebrate that energy. Celebrate those times when you felt the weakest that you've ever felt, because you got through it and you are where you are now because of it. And that's not a light thing to say, because these challenges that they send our way are not easy for anyone. So all of you that are here with us, please look at the times that you felt the most beat down, the times where you felt the most misunderstood. Look at that person, look at that man or woman, boy or girl version of yourself, and give them a big hug and tell them how fucking amazing they are. Because those are the things that have brought us here. Those are the things that make or break us. And for everyone listening, it's obviously made you, because you're still here and you're still moving on up. And I think that you're all amazing.
That's wonderfully said. And I was just thinking, Maggie, as you were saying that, many years ago, when I was writing one night and talking with Michael, Michael told me something to the effect of, when we sign up to come down here, so this is all of you guys, this is all the light workers. When we sign up to come down here, we sign up knowing full well that we are going to have a tough time with people knowing exactly who we are and feeling loved for who we are. And we sign up knowing that people are not going to understand us, and they're not going to even try to understand us. We sign up knowing that life is going to be hard, no matter what position you're in, no matter what you do for your job, no matter where you are in life. We sign up knowing all of this stuff, and yet we do it because we know that what we're here to do is so important. And if we don't do it, who is going to do it? So I think that as we move into this full moon, that we just take some time to congratulate ourselves. And if we need to cry for the struggles that we've had along the way, then we cry for the struggles that we've had along the way. Because crying is not weakness. Crying is not something that is should be looked down upon. It shouldn't. Crying is how we're working through our emotions and our feelings, and we are allowing them out and allowing to make space for new and improved energies. So, well, I don't think we expected to talk about that. I think it's very relevant, and I'm glad that we mentioned it.
Yes, and if any of you have experiences that you're going through now with any of this energy, please share them. If it helps you to get it off your chest, tell us what you're going through, how you're feeling. We're happy to sit and hold space and talk about anything that you guys are experiencing. But if we want to move into the main topic, maybe we should get there now.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that we get information, and that we understand how the universe works with us. And so I think it would be really interesting to talk a bit about some of the things that Maggie and I use, some of the tools that we use, how we specifically use those tools, how we understand what is coming to us and how we put things together, as well as what you guys do, how you use things. And we have a couple of things to show you. I tried to gather everything, but then of course, the one time that I want to like gather all the tools and stuff that we have laying around, certain things are just MIA, and I have no idea where they are. So I gathered what I could, and I think we should start there. Let me just read the comments before we go, so we have like a clean break. So Val says, "So sorry for the loss of your fur baby," and she said, "Yes, she's feeling the same here." Curious Light Channeler says, "I'm feeling very emotional, and it's tough purging through these energies." Val says, "It comes and goes, those feelings." And then Curious Light Channeler says, "Imagine how much stronger you will be after you get through these challenges, like a phoenix." And then also, as a guy, it's so sad that it's looked down upon for men to cry. I think a lot could be said on that topic.
Yes. Well, I want to say first, thank you, Val, for your sympathies. It is always hard losing a pet. Sometimes I feel like I love animals more than the human collective at times, because they always love you back. Of course, I love the human collective, but when you lose an animal, it's hard. And I want to say to Curious Light Channeler, it's hard purging through these energies. I understand why it feels like in these particular energies, it's hard to purge, but I would just like to give you the perspective that you may feel very resistant towards things in these energies, because as humans, we are conditioned and taught to resist difficulty, to resist tough emotions, to resist situations that feel challenging and energies that feel challenging. But in fact, this Aries full moon is a really, really good time to purge. This full moon is asking us to purge in a lot of ways. So instead of feeling like, I don't know why it's feeling difficult for you, but if you don't resist that difficulty, if you feel frustrated, if you feel stuck, if you feel any kind of stuck kind of emotion, resistant kind of emotion, that's the moment to stop resisting it, lean into it, let it flow, see what comes out. Maybe you need to cry, or maybe you need to scream, or maybe you need to just take some time to yourself. But these energies in this full moon in particular this week are really encouraging a flow of releasing and a flow of purging. If you can get your mind in that mindset that whatever is coming up now, it's coming up so that I can let go of it, or that I can heal it, or whatever, and not see it as resistance or something that's hard, you'll find that I hope that the energy flows out more quickly and gives you a renewed energy or more space for that good stuff to come in. And I just wanted to make that comment about your comment, because I've been feeling the same way until our friend, you may you may know him from a couple weeks ago. Matei was explaining to us about why things are feeling so tough this week. It's because of the full moon. And that made a lot of things click for me in Temple, at least.
Right, exactly. And I agree that for me, if the men in my life don't show emotion, it's concerning to me. So hopefully we can get on that track where it is okay for a man to show emotion, because we can't really balance the masculine and feminine if the men don't start to be okay with showing emotion.
Right.
So,
and we are here to support you in that showing of emotion. I know it's not easy to break free from those conditionings. However, this is a safe space. And if you want to share any emotions here, if you don't feel safe in some other spaces of your life, you're absolutely safe here to let your emotions go. We can help you with healing if you need, releasing, purging. We are here for that. We totally support the masculine emotion, the masculine expression of emotion. We see how important it is.
very much, very much. Okay, so let's delve into this topic. I'm super excited for this topic. In fact, I'm so excited, I don't really know where to start for this, but let's just talk about some of the things that Maggie and I do together. I think that would probably be a good place to start. So Maggie and I, not only, as you guys know from last week, are called to attend meetings upstairs, but we also go on these shamanic journeys sometimes, and shamanic missions. And we get information. Sometimes we get information so long in advance, and then we don't really know what to do with it. So we just hold it, and we have to do a different mission in the meantime. But then that information that we got comes up for this next mission. So we're always getting information, and it comes from the most unlikely areas sometimes. And so I think we can just talk about that a little bit. Like one of the things that we always pay attention to, because when you realize that the universe is there to work for you, not against you, you'll realize that if you look and if you pay attention and if you just slow down a little bit, the universe is constantly giving you clues, whether that is repeating numbers, the clouds in the sky showing things, whether it's just conversations you're having with other people of stuff that's randomly brought up that people would have no idea so many others have brought up. And it can be something really random, like a historical figure's name, where you would be like, why did this get brought up to us like 4 times? I think this is something we have to pay attention to. And stuff like this happens all the time to Maggie and I. Also, probably like many of you, I do the number thing. You kind of do the number thing now. Like when I first met you, you didn't do tons of numbers, right, Maggie?
Not big into numerology, but if I get a text at 3:33 or something, I'll think that there's something important that I need to see in there because the universe is sending it at this numerologically important time. So I've learned to pay attention to those things.
Right. And one of the main things that we work with is cards, oracle cards, tarot cards, you name it, cards. We work with cards. And having said that, these days, there's so many different types of cards available that I thought it might be interesting to show some of the ones that we really enjoy or some of the ones that we work with, and then see how you guys interpret them and show how we kind of interpret them, because we both have a different style of interpreting cards. And then we can talk about some of the, like tarot. We tend to use tarot cards a lot, but we use a lot of different ones too. We can kind of talk about what some of our favorite decks are and what happens when we get this deck and we're like, oh, I wish I would have never bought that deck because it's not really calling to me. So where do you want to start, Maggie?
I guess we could start. I mean, we could talk all night about tarot and different ways that to interpret the tarot. Temple and I interpret tarot a bit differently. We could start with pendulum. We could talk about any of these things. Is there anything that you guys particularly are interested in knowing how to work with or want to hone your abilities to work with? Because we use a lot of communication methods, and it really depends on the person what works best for them.
So while you guys are writing in the chat, the first thing I'll talk about instead of tarot cards, we'll move to something else. Well, I'll talk about scrying and crystal balls. So I have a crystal ball. Like, one of my dreams was to get a crystal ball, right? So I have a crystal ball, and I realized that after I had a crystal ball, I don't use it much. I've used it a few times. And remember, the crystal ball is not the thing that has the power or has the ability. It's you that have the power and the ability. These are just tools. But if any of you have ever used a crystal ball or have worked with a crystal ball, this is a really good way to build your clear sight, which is what? Clairvoyance. And so for me, I have a little stand for it, but if you're going to hold it, you put your hands on each side, and then you calm yourself down, you calm your mind down, and then you hold it up like at level like this. And then you calm down and you let your eyes just kind of go cross-eyed and start using your third eye to see. And while I thought this would be a really good tool for me, I soon realized after I had it that I didn't really need it, because I could also just close my eyes. So some of these tools are nice to have when you're first learning how things work best for you. But for me, I don't need to use it as much, because I can get the same effect by I usually, when Maggie and I go on these adventures, I usually have to shut off all the lights except for the computer screen. And then I have to actually like close my eyes like this. And with my eyes closed and everything black, then everything can fade. And then I can see the visions of what they're trying to show me. And so that's one of the ways that I work best, is seeing visions. And sometimes I don't have to necessarily even have my eyes closed. Maggie and I can be talking, and then my third eye will just play out a scenario. Maybe it's a possible future timeline, or maybe they want to show me something in their realm. And so it'll just play out in front of me while I'm still seeing that I'm getting these visions. So I don't know, are any of you be able to do that too? Because I know there's probably a lot of you guys out there that can. So let me know. I'm curious.
I do not have the same sort of clairvoyance that Temple has. I don't see things play out as a movie screen in my vision as I close my eyes. I always dreamt and begged for that ability, but as of yet, they have not given it to me yet. But if you can't do that yet, if your third eye is not as developed in the way that Temple's is, where you close your eyes and you see scenes in front of your third eye or up here, that's all right. It doesn't mean that you don't have clairvoyance. I receive I call them impressions. It's like as if you're imagining something in your head. You're not necessarily seeing it as a movie in front of your eyes, but you can get the impression of that image or that scenario. That's how they give me information. I will get the impression of a scenario or the impression of a symbol or something like that. And then I go from there, because I've learned that my imagination in that way is a superpower. A lot of the time we are taught to suppress our imaginations and not use them, that kind of thing is for children. but get used to letting your imagination run a little bit wild. That those imaginary impressions, those imaginary visions that you probably remember having as a child is a great way that they give you information. But a lot of us have been cut off from that, or think that we can't receive what is true through that because imagination is fantasy, right? It's not. That's how I get most of my clairvoyant information, and it's usually lining up very accurately with what Temple is actually seeing in front of her eyes as a movie or as an actual image. So don't discount the thoughts or the images that pop into your head. They really do try to communicate with you that way. Don't second guess yourself or doubt that, because it's a very valid form of communication.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I remember us taking notes, and we have the literal visual sight versus the imagination and impressions. And both of those are equally as important. Sometimes when I get visions just like Maggie, where I have these impressions, almost like, if the room is dark and you walk into a dark room, but you have just the tiniest bit of light to cast shadows. But if you don't know the room, if it's a brand new room, it's very hard to actually see what's going on, but you have like some kind of outline and you're like, what's going on? Sometimes that's how I see as well, where I don't quite have the full movie in front of me. I just have shapes, and it's not necessarily colored. Other times I see it as I'm actually viewing it in real life. Like if I was standing on the street and a horse passed, I could see that. Or sometimes I can see that there is something that kind of resembles like an animal in a cart, but more than that, then I call on my other senses to know exactly what's going on. So if I'm not sure, that's where you like overlap your senses. And then I'm listening to hear what the animals' noises are making on the pavement, or seeing if I can hear things around me. But it's not always like, I think this is some of the misconception. People think that, if I close my eyes and use my third eye to see things, it should play just like a colored movie. And while that's amazing, and it does happen sometimes, it doesn't always happen like that, especially when Maggie and I are in the middle of a mission and we're somewhere we've never been before. So it's real time for us in this moment. It's not like, especially in real time situations, I don't always have that clear vision. It can be like foggy vision. Like if a thick fog rolled in and you're seeing things take place, but things are kind of obscure. It can happen like that as well. And there's so many variations to the clear seeing. So don't discount it just because you aren't able to see it like a movie. If you close your eyes and you see different shapes, or you get a sense of something there, but you can't actually see it, but yet it's like got this big fog over it, you're using more than your one sense. And this is usually how Maggie and I work. And you too, like when you're asking questions, don't think that you're just using one of your gifts. Your gifts pile up on one another, and so they help each other. When you're trying to have one gift that maybe isn't as clear as you would like, then that's where the other gifts come in. So let's see. Val says, what if tarot cards and a pendulum are giving you different answers to your questions? Was looking for guidance on a potential love situation because I don't have clarity. So Maggie and I have this happen frequently, actually.
All the time.
What we do in these situations is when we have a question, we both use our pendulums, and when we get different answers, then we know that something's amiss. Either we have to cleanse our pendulum or cleanse our cards, or we have to rephrase the question in a more precise way. Did I leave anything out?
I think it's a special case with me and Temple if we get different answers with our pendulums. If I get a no and she gets a yes, then that means the answer is somewhere in the middle of the no and the yes, and we need to rephrase it. So that might be the case on your end too. It's harder to know if you're just doing it by yourself. A pendulum is something that you need to, if you don't know this already, that you need to constantly maintain. You need to constantly be cleansing it and programming it and working with it, because it's just an object, right? And if you can have your effect on it, but if you're not cleansing it all the time, other energies can get into the pendulum and affect the spin and affect the purity of the energy coming through. So we cleanse our pendulums probably every time we work together at least once, because we want
many
to
times
make sure,
more than once while we're working together.
exactly, because so many outside energies can come in and affect the pendulum. Even your own energy can affect the pendulum. If you're anxious or worried about something, that anxiety or worry or fear can affect the answer, the pure source or the pure higher realm answer that you want to come through. So we always make the intention to disconnect our own energy from the pendulum. We say that only the God of our heart can speak the truth through the pendulum, and all things coming through God, anyone you're asking for an answer for, if it comes through God, they have to tell you the truth. So we say that at the beginning of every time that we ask the question, we ask, please, I do not allow my energy to be included in this answer, and only the God of my heart can speak the true answer through my pendulum. And to cleanse it, what we like to do a lot of the time, if you have a candle, I just put my pendulum here over the candle, and it's spinning really big now because it knows that I'm cleansing it. And when it's done being cleansed, the spin will stop. And that's how I know that my pendulum is cleansed. There's a million different ways to do it, but that's a way that we like to do it. That's quick. And we have the proof when it's done because it stops spinning. I don't know if you have anything to add, Temple.
Yeah, I think the thing with pendulums, and I would personally, I tend to, like, if I was doing both pendulum and card and I didn't get the same answer, I would work with my pendulum, cleanse my pendulum, do all that. But then I would try it again, take my thought process out of it and see if that comes out as the same answer to the card, because it's harder, at least this is my personal opinion, it's harder to have direct not consequences for your energy when you're using cards. Now it still can be your energy will still help choose the card, but it's easier to manipulate when it's a pendulum. So it's very, very important that with the pendulum, Maggie and I have learned this too over the time, your answers have to be very specific. I think a lot of times people, they want the answer, but they're not, they get stumped when they're asking the question because they're not really sure how to phrase it. And the thing that have helped Maggie and I is to really hone in on what exactly it is that you want to ask. And so when you're cleansing your pendulum, always make sure that you say it. Like, you have to constantly be talking to your pendulum. So say how you're cleansing it, that you want it to be cleansed, and do your cleansing thing. But like every time you set that pendulum down and you pick it up, I always say, only the God of my heart can answer it. I never just pick it up and let it give me an answer, because there's too many energetic things that could have happened since that second that I set it down. So while pendulums are nice and easy for answers, I think out of everything, they're one of the most easy manipulated tools.
Yes.
That can be manipulated. Let's see. So Curious Light Channer says, realizing that the imagination is the skeleton key to other worlds is a powerful activation for a person's consciousness.
Oh yeah.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And this is where I also say that um, when people talk about myths and legends and like Greek gods and like all these things, we have all these amazing stories, and to everybody, they're just somebody's imagination. Well, if thoughts are things, it has to come from somewhere. So, what does that make all of those myths and legends that we're taught as kids? I mean, they have to come from somewhere. So I totally agree. Jody, we have not talked about muscle testing. Do you muscle test? That's something that I did for a little bit, but that's something that I don't.
I've never, I know about muscle testing and I know people teach a lot about it. I've never formally done any muscle testing. Usually what I do is I hold my hands out in a balance and I have one answer in one and one in the other. And I close my eyes and kind of try to zone out so I don't affect the answer. And whatever hand goes down is the correct answer. That's how I do muscle testing. I don't know if there's other ways. That's the way that I've always done it.
That's so funny. I never knew that but that's what I do too sometimes. So
Really?
that's so funny. Another thing.
That's a good way because you don't need any tools besides your own hands.
Oh, totally. And like the other thing that we do when if we don't have any tools and it's just us and we're in the middle of a situation, we will, mostly our eyes are closed anyway. So we will just turn around and we'll say red or green. And then depending on, red or green is like yes or no. And then that's an easy way. Like all these tools are available, but it's not like you need them. There's so many things you can do that you can make your own tools. Even with like dowsing rods, and I have mine, but I couldn't find them. Ramses is always like, I've charged those rods, like you need to use them. And I never use them. And then when I actually want to show them, I can't find them. But mine are copper. I used to use them quite a bit. And dowsing rods are super ancient. I have a little bit of information about them. Like historically, they were this forked piece of either hazel or willow wood made of like a Y-shaped tree or metal rod. And like I said, mine are copper. But they can be used from anything from like water, minerals, treasure. They found archaeological remains with them, and they've even found dead bodies with them. So do any of you guys use dowsing rods at all? I know when my parents had to have a well drilled, they called in the local dowser. So it's still something that happens when you're working with water, but I trained mine. You can train yours to do certain things. So when I was younger and I was just learning about energy, I trained mine to twirl around if there was somebody in the room. And so I used that to then set them down and focus on the energy to try to learn to differentiate the room energy when nobody's in the room versus, what is this energy that came in the room. That's what I mostly have used them for. And then also for finding things in the house. And so those are like the two things that I use them for. But they're a very, very old tool that has been used since ancient times. Do you use dowsing rods?
No, I never have. I found a rock at the beach the other day. I like picking up rocks at the beach, and they told me to pick it up, and it looked like a little arrow. And they told me that it was a dowsing rock and I could use it, but I haven't tried yet. And just to circle back to Val's question that she was asking about the difference between her cards and her pendulum, if you find that I read this trick somewhere. It's not something that I do often, but I read it and it seems really helpful that if you shuffle the deck and you're not sure if you're pulling the right cards or not, and you're asking about like a romantic situation, whatever card represents a romantic situation for you, find that card in the deck and see which cards are on either side of it. And that should give you a good read on that situation. So you're influencing a bit less, pulling the cards yourself, you might get a pure energy or a different answer. If you do that, you might get a little more clarity. That just popped into my mind while I was out of the room. So I just wanted to add that in case it was helpful.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I was going to tell you guys, like, a lot of times people think this is like new age stuff, like these rocks and like the dowsing and but like all of this stuff is so ancient. For example, like crystal balls, the first century, Pliny the Elder described using crystal balls by soothsayers. And they were used in the 5th century. Scrying was widespread within the Roman Empire, even though it was condemned by the early Christian church. But there's also a famous mathematician who was consultant for Queen Elizabeth I, who used scrying balls or crystal balls. And you can do this. You don't need to have a crystal ball to do this. Anything that reflects or refracts, you can use it with. So like, for example, historically, a lot of times they used to do this with well water. You would like tip back in the well and you would see what you could see. Or you can, if you have a stream or flowing water by you or calm water, it doesn't matter. You can do that by looking over into the water. And actually there is some, is it Greek myths about like people who did that, who looked over into the water and things happened. I don't remember though offhand.
I remember hearing something like, I was reading a book about fairies once, and the guy who wrote it was an expert on fairies, and it said that if you look into a puddle right after it rains, a puddle of fresh rainwater, then you can see into the fairy realm. And I guess people have used that method to connect to the fairy realm before.
Yes. And then I think we read something, or they told us one time when we were dealing with the reflection and refraction of water, that historically, when the moon was full, this is very interesting. When the moon was full, people would kneel by the riverside and allow the moon to refract off the water and see into the underworld, or see into, do you remember that? I don't remember exactly the whole story of it, but so these are things you can do in nature too, that you don't necessarily need these tools for. The tools are all around. What else? Do you want to talk about cards now, or is there anything else? Oh, gematrix.
Gematrix is a whole can of worms.
I know. Okay, I'm going to say this very cautiously. Like, I'm going to tell you guys about something that Maggie and I use once in a while, but I'm going to also tell you that it can be addicting, and it can also be manipulated as well. Okay, so it's not going to always be it's not going to always be the answer that you might be looking for, but it's an excellent way to trust your energy. So if you look up in Google and type in gematrix, Gemat, gematrix. Let me just make sure I spell this right. Gematria. So it's gematrix.org. That's the one that we use. And basically, this is a way of taking words, letters, and associating them with numbers. And this whole idea of this gematrix goes way back. It's incredibly ancient. And so you type in a phrase and it calculates the phrase with numbers. And then it shoots out things that match the same number. So you can get a lot of information if you know how to use it. Like the information that Maggie and I get from it is usually it's not very straightforward. It's very mysterious and things don't make sense. And you have to know a lot about mythology. You have to know a lot about history. You have to in order to like put some of these things together. But then all of a sudden you'll hit something and it it just goes on forever. And one word after the next little column after the next column, and all of a sudden there's like a message there. And so the only other thing that I want to say about this is that it's when you start using it, it's a good way to test your energy, because there's going to be all kinds of answers. It doesn't just spit out one answer, and you will be drawn to where your energy is in that moment to those answers. So if you are ever in a bind of wondering, where is my energy at this very moment? And you go to Gematrix and you look at, and you type something in, and the first thing you notice, the first thing your brain goes to is something not so great. Then you kind of know where your thought process is in that moment. And if anything, it's a great way to start realizing where your energies are, knowing what it feels like, and then being able to change it. So, so I want to just caution you guys about Gematrix. It is a rabbit hole, to say the least. And
it is fun, but don't get too sucked in, because you can go crazy trying to find answers in Gematrix. But if you have a question here and there and you type it in, it can lead you to some pretty cool places and some pretty cool stories and figures and ideas that you may not have heard of before, that may add a lot to your understanding of whatever it is you're trying to understand.
Right. And the only it works off energy, and it works best if you have an open mind. So
yes.
So keep your mind open while you're doing this, but also set your protection and set your energies properly while you're using it. Okay. So like anything, it can go either way. I almost forgot about the Gematrix, actually. So, all right. So I think, here. I think we're on to the cards, which is actually the biggest, because everything kind of stems from the cards. Like, we use the cards, but then we get information on the side. And then if we're really stuck, sometimes we do automatic writing, and sometimes we page people. And so do you want to start? Or you want me to?
Yes. Oh, we have a bunch of comments there.
Oh, okay. Oh, we do have a lot of comments. I'm so excited. So Angel Energy 22 says, this is so crazy. Your video just popped up on my YouTube, and I was watching music videos, and then it switched to this randomly. Wow. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. So Spirit led me here. I'm an Earth Angel. Well, hello, Earth Angel Energy 22. It's so nice to have you here. 6 watchers and 4 likes.
Oh, she or he asked what we were talking about. We're talking about today. We were talking about the full moon energies a bit earlier. If you're interested in that, we're talking about a lot of the stuff that's coming up. But now we're talking about a lot of tools that you can use, ways to tap into your spiritual abilities via things like tarot cards, pendulums, crystal balls, stuff like that. All the ways that we use them, and how the ways that you guys use them, just sharing information about how we get information like that.
Yes. So let's see. Hi to everyone watching. Thank you. I haven't heard of this before. This is why Spirit led me here. Insane. Thank you. So Tupac is your spirit guide? That's super cool. Actually, that's very cool. So Tupac is your spirit guide, and Michael Jackson is my spirit guide. And Freddie Mercury hangs out with Maggie quite a bit. So we're a very musical family. A very musical family over here. So with the tarot cards or the oracle cards, I went through this phase where, when I was younger, even in high school, I just had this idea that I wanted to be one of those cool psychic people, right? Like, I was like, I think I have it in me. I just have to figure it out, because I'm experiencing all these crazy things. I'm going to figure out tarot because it's going to help me along the way. And I had a heck of a time. I bought so many different tarot decks, and I hated them all. And I bought different books. I actually have, this is the book. This is like the best book I've ever bought. It's this DK, which the DK, I'm trying to think what DK stands for, but these little books are the best. You can get them for like all sorts of science things and historical things. And they always have all these pictures with like little arrows that point to stuff. So tarot for me was something that I would have to look up every single card all the time. And I even took a tarot deck and I wrote things on them. So when I would flip it over, I would try to remember what these things were. I wrote keywords on them, and that didn't even quite work for me. And then I was like, well, maybe it's this tarot deck. And so I would buy another tarot deck, and it just didn't work. And then when Oracle cards came out, I'm like that old that Oracle cards are like a new thing. When Oracle cards came out, it was a lifesaver because it allowed me to easily use the system of like throwing cards and understanding what they meant. And so I kind of went through this whole long existence with I finally stopped buying tarot decks because it just wasn't working for me. And then I met Maggie, and Maggie changed my life. It's a true story.
I didn't even know that.
No, I know. Well, it's a true story. And so Maggie and I both read the actual tarot very differently, but she has helped me to understand more about using your own intuition and really looking at the pictures on them and looking at the pictures on them with the other cards. I was always with the tarot, it's weird because I don't do this with other like Oracle decks, but with the tarot, I would have a card. For whatever reason, I would never notice what the pictures were on the card next to it. Like the queen could be looking exactly at like whatever that next card was, and I would have no idea. And so Maggie really helped me like understand this whole symbolism idea of these cards. And I'm huge into symbolism. In fact, my library is filled with books about symbolism. And so I look up symbolism stuff every day. I am absolutely fascinated with like geometry and like the symbolisms of geometry and the symbolisms of animals and dreams and especially like historically. Here's one of my historical tips for the night. Because people couldn't read historically, signs for businesses would be like the golden the golden elephant of the star or something like that. But instead of saying that all, they would have this golden elephant and then they would have this star carved out. And so you could tell the people to look for the golden elephant and the star. But most of these always had symbolism behind these signs, had symbolism behind them being called what they were called. So I find symbolism absolutely fascinating. And this is something that will help you with your journey as far as opening your intuition, because we don't think of everyday things as meaning stuff other than like an oak leaf. But really, an oak leaf means a lot of things. Oak leaf is oak in the Victorian times was all about masculinity. So without knowing that, you would miss this amazing clue that the universe put out for you. I mean, an oak leaf is pretty general, but crazy things happen. So if you're not into signs and symbols, I would suggest to at least get a book and just start paging through, finding things that are interesting for you, and just go from there, because that opens up a whole new world. And Maggie and I rely on signs and symbols every single day for the work that we do.
It's true. A lot of them we had to learn. They'll give us, like last night I had a dream about a lizard. It was this orange lizard. And Temple, and I was like, I don't know what this dream means. There are lizards on some tarot cards. I think this all goes back to the tarot because they all have all of these crazy esoteric and universal symbols on them. But I didn't know what it meant. My conscious mind didn't know what it meant. So Temple said, well, what did it look like? What kind of lizard was it? And she sent me all of these pictures of different kinds of orange lizards. And finally, she sent me one that looked like the one in my dream. And we looked up the spiritual, esoteric meaning of that lizard. And it was really, really relevant to the dream experience I had and something that I need to realize from that dream. So when stuff that comes up on the tarot that you're drawn to, maybe a particular image you're drawn to, or even it's not limited to the tarot, something comes across your path on your Facebook, on the internet, when you're driving, that you're like, wow, that's really catching my eye, but I don't know why that I'm paying so much attention to that. Look it up. Look it up. What's the symbol? What is the spiritual symbolism of this? That's what I usually look up. And it will always have, for the most part, something to tell you about something that they're trying to let you know about or make you aware of for your development or for your situation currently.
And this is a really great example. So Maggie had two dreams last night that didn't seem like they connected at all. They were like two totally random dreams. And she sent them to me this morning, and I listened to the one and I said what I thought it was. And then I listened to the other, and then it clicked on me that like this last dream was giving her information for this first random dream, even though it seemed like it didn't go together. And I think that's kind of the beauty of what we do and how we do it, because if we had, I've actually thought about this, Maggie, having like a live broadcast of you and I trying to work this stuff out and like get ready pre-mission, it would just not blow your mind in a bad way, but sometimes these tangents that we get off on while trying to figure this all out are so random that you often wonder like how we actually get to figure this out. And upstairs doesn't really give us clues. I mean, they do, but they make us really work for it. So we kind of have to have the whole mission put together. And it's not even just the general mission. Like we have to have very specific aspects of like, so we do this, then we do this, then we have to find that, and we have to do this. And all of those things come together, kind of like your dream, your two dreams last night, where they're seemingly random and they don't match. And then we realized that this second dream that you had with the newt, I think it was a newt, was actually very important for figuring out this first dream, which probably has something to do with the mission that we have to go on. So I would like to say it's all very organized, but I think if people would actually watch us do this, they would probably just think we were crazy. So we have to just embrace that and just we just embrace it.
It's like that, as I'm sure you guys know, working with spirit. You ask for a straightforward answer. You want things as you need to know them. And they send you on all of these crazy side quests down these crazy lanes and alleys. And you come back with way more information and way more cool stuff than you were bargaining for when you first set out. I think that's part of the beauty of it, is that we're not meant to understand things completely right away. And I don't think with something like tarot, it's helpful to go through a book and memorize meanings. I tried to force myself to do that for a long time, but I'm not a person who's very, very good with details. If you're really good with details and you love stuff like that, you probably be a great tarot reader, because you'll be able to remember all of the definitions and all of the minutia and all of the history around all of the information on the cards. But if you're like me and your brain is not good at retaining stuff like that, you don't have to study that way either. You don't have to. I think some people are intimidated by tarot because you think that you need to have a lot of scholarship on the tarot and a lot of studying to be able to read it correctly. It's not true. Your people upstairs spirit and your subconscious mind is going to give you all the information that you need to know when you pull a card. You just need to, like we were talking about before, let your conscious brain kind of take a rest. Let your imagination play a little bit when you're looking at the cards. See what pops out at you. See what story they're trying to tell you. See the figures on the card, where they're looking, what pictures and images on the card pop out to you, what's relevant to you. And you'll see how fast a story forms around that and an answer forms around that. If you're not too rigid with yourself, if you just let yourself play. I think with the spiritual stuff, we take it so seriously a lot of the time, and it is very serious, but so much of the beauty of it is in the play and exploration of things. So I just want to encourage you guys to do that with your cards, because I use the cards a lot more after I stopped being so hard on myself about remembering the answers or remembering what the meaning is. The meaning is what my subconscious mind tells me it is. And that gives me the right answer 99% of the time.
And I don't I usually give myself readings, or like I'm like, hey Maggie, can you help me out here? But I went to a tarot reader a couple weeks ago, actually, which was like the first time, and I can't remember how long. And I was so interesting because I'm so used to Maggie like flipping her tarot cards, and then explaining what it was that I was trying to, as she was flipping them, I was trying to like put it together in my head in like the way I've been watching Maggie do it. But the woman had a completely different way of doing it. And so it's not like one way was wrong over the other way. I think the message came out equally the same, but the way the picture stood out to her and how she learned it was completely different. I think she had a very, very much more like what do you call it? Like, did you say academic or like scholarly?
Like a studied way,
Studied way,
traditional
yes.
way.
But I really like the way Maggie does this because instead of reading the cards singularly, I now understand that if you put a storyboard together, it makes so much sense, which is mind blowing to me because I used to do like a lot of past life stuff. And I would put all these storyboards with like the videos they were showing me and the cards I was getting in, like, that's how you do it. You have to put the storyboards together. But why I didn't transfer that over into like reading Oracle and tarot card, I have no idea why that didn't transfer over, but now it does. So I was thinking, do you want to show them the deck, your favorite tarot deck, and then tell me what card you're pulling, and then I'll pull my same card so they can see the two difference in our tarot deck, two different cards, same card, two different decks.
My favorite deck. I have this this deck is kind of corny. The pictures are kind of like corny and cheesy, but I really love this deck. It's called Universal Celtic Tarot. It has a lot of kind of druid, pagan, and more druid-like, what is the word? Symbolism, and my higher self is druid-like, so I'm really drawn to this deck. This one is my favorite. If you are into kind of Celtic mythologies and stuff, this is a really, really awesome deck.
Do you want to pull a card so they can see the difference in our decks? My deck is a Egyptian deck, and this is the only tarot deck that I've actually learned to like. The cards are very, I don't want that card. The cards are very different than like what a normal tarot deck would be like. They're very gold and shiny, but a lot of times I have to look at the original tarot to kind of know what's going on with these, but I'm getting better. So like this guy right here, this Five of Pentacles, something is buried. He lost something. He's looking for something. Something is not quite at the surface. Do you have a Five of Pentacles?
I just want to show the difference between your Five of Pentacles and the traditional I literally just pulled that card. Hold on.
This card comes out a lot for us.
If I can find it. So even between decks, you don't want to be so strict in applying the same meaning because the artwork is always trying to tell you something different. This is the traditional Five of Pentacles artwork. It has a very different feeling than Temple's Five of Pentacles.
Mm-hmm.
This is like two people lost out in the cold. They've been cast out. It's a card of being lost. I don't want to get too much into an interpretation because it means something different every time you pull it. But the energy of Temples, it's not quite the same.
Exactly. And can you show them the Five of Pentacles from your other deck too? So like we can have all three of them on the screen.
Yes, if I can find it.
So now that I am working with Maggie so much, I do find myself using a lot more tarot because a lot of times oracle cards have a specific subject matter or a specific category that they focus on. You know, like Doreen Virtue, when she was putting out cards, she would have like a love deck or like a relationship deck where that's a very specific subject matter, but like the tarot is not as specific. It's very wide ranging. And so if I'm dealing specifically with like a relationship thing or like a love thing, I would use that versus like the tarot. But if I need kind of an overall card to know about the situation, I would totally pull a tarot. Okay, so Curious Light Channeler says, I'm not really sure how tarot cards work. I was wondering, can you have the individual give you the meaning of the cards that you're working with, if that makes sense? Can you have the individual? Do you mean like if you're giving the person a reading, have that individual give the meaning of what they think the cards are? Is that, how did you?
I could take this a few ways. Can you please clarify what you mean by, can you have the individual give you the meaning of the cards that you're working with?
Okay.
What comes to my mind, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but I haven't done this with every card in the tarot deck, but I do have certain cards that I've gone through and I assign meanings to them. These are cards that tend to come up a lot in certain of the same situation. And for example, the Seven of Swords, if I'm reading, it always comes up when you have a partner who's trying to deceive you or cheating or something.
Seven of Swords, it was just like on the
Yes,
top.
that card. So I've assigned a meaning to that card. So when it comes up, I know exactly what's going on. I don't have to interpret anything. That card is really clear to me. So you can assign meanings to all your cards like that. Or you can ask the cards to assign meanings for you. You can shuffle your deck and say, give me, because your tarot deck is a conscious thing. You build a relationship with it. So you can talk to your deck and you can say, tarot, give me the card that reads, that this love connection is going to be a positive thing for me, and shuffle, and the card that comes out, you'll know when that card comes out that that's the answer for you. And you can go through and do that for however many situations or cards that you want. And then you can have a better idea. But the way that you relate to your tarot deck and the way that you program it and the way that you read things is entirely up to you. And there's literally a million different ways you can do it.
Right. And so this is a really great example. If I was reading this and these two cards came out, the Strength came out first and this Five of Pentacles came out, my old self would be like, crap, I don't know exactly what's going on. Like, obviously the Strength card, like, okay, so the person has something dealing with strength. But now that I'm looking at it and using the imagery on this, and because the Five of Pentacles for me means that something is lost or something is hidden, I would then tell the person I'm reading for that it looks like there's a need for strength. Like either you've lost your strength or you're looking for something to give you strength. And then, we would have to pull another card, but it just made something very hard to understand, very easy with the way that Maggie does it. And then also, you can use these in so many ways. Like if you're into the numerology, you can use the numerology of them. If you're into the symbolism, you can use the symbolism of them. So this one, we had this one come up, and we were focusing on this. I think it was reverse actually, but so this Lover's card came up, and as we were talking, we were going through both of our throws that came up. We noticed that something that may not be for every single reading, the Lover's card came up, but specifically for this one, our attention was drawn to that's the root chakra, right, Maggie? In that area. So this is this little, it's actually the headpiece of, even though we talk about this name all the time. Now I'm not going to be able to remember the name, but so this deity, this is actually like the headpiece of this deity here. But in the way that we read it, it was actually covering up the base chakra, the base chakra of the male that was in question. So we knew that there was a chakra problem. Now, does that always mean that? No, but it just so happened that's how the card,
That's what we were drawn to in that card.
But that's what we were drawn to.
We were never drawn to that little circle before, but for whatever reason, when we picked that card that time, that was relevant. So really let your instinct or your intuition go and see where your eye falls on the card, what particular aspects of the card your eye falls on naturally, because that will be telling you something.
Right, exactly. I'm just trying to think. So Question. Rebecca says, is there a nuance to shuffling cards, or can they be picked at random? You want to talk about that?
I think it really depends on your intention. Like I was saying, your cards have their own consciousness, and your consciousness has a relationship with the consciousness of the cards. So if you shuffle them and you say, after I shuffle this 3 times and I'm done shuffling, the card that comes out on top is the card that's going to answer my question. And you program your shuffle and you program your deck like that, you can know that the card that comes out on top is the card that's going to answer your question. If you are more of a messy person like me, you shuffle until a card flies out of the deck, and then you know that that's the card that answers your question.
That's how I shuffle too. There's no right or wrong way to shuffle. It is whatever is comfortable for you and however you feel works for you. I know a lot of friends who, when they're sitting across from someone, they want that person to shuffle. And then when they shuffle and the cards fall out, before the cards fall out, they say, do you want the cards facing you or facing me? And then if they say facing me, then depending on how the card falls out, I'll flip it and I'll face it to me, which means that it could be upside down. And not all cards need to be read upside down, but there's certain ways you can do it. I personally don't have people shuffling my cards. I like to have them knock on the deck 3 times and give their okay for me to read their energy using the cards. I think that's very important to do. And then I will personally shuffle the deck, and then cards just go flying everywhere. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. And while Maggie was talking, I was thinking about like this numerology here. So depending on what you're drawn to, you could, speaking about symbolism, cups is always about relationships and love. Like it's just what cups are about. There's probably more things that cups are about, but like watery elements. But when you're looking at the numerology here, you can go about that one of several ways. You can look up the normal numerology if that's what you're into. And 4 is the number of stability, security, structure, and order. It might at first appear as positive attributes, but depending on how it appears in the spread could be different. Or if you're more along the angel line and feel more aligned to like the angel numbers, the Doreen Virtue numbers, you get your angel number 101 book and you read Angels Are With You. They send you the number 4 to assure you that they've heard your prayers and are helping you. So it's not like one numerology is wrong over the other. Spirit uses your energy and the way that you see things, see the universe, see the world, the way that you interpret to give the answers needed. So you don't have to worry that just because somebody else is seeing and interpreting it different than you would, that it would be wrong.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the main things that keep people stuck. It's actually better to have your own method of interpretation, because not only does it make you unique, but it helps the energy flow through you better because you're not stifled by what you think it should be because this is what's written about it. And that's one of the things that I think Maggie has really taught me about with the whole tarot. Now, let's see, can you change the way you shuffle, or is it hard to deprogram once you start shuffling a certain way?
I've never been a good shuffler. There was a point in time where I was trying to learn all of the fancy shuffling techniques that all of the really cool YouTube tarot card readers do, and I could not do it. So, I mean, I just throw chunks like this, and you can do it however you want, whatever feels comfortable. You can throw them all on the floor and then pick them back up and put them in a different order. I've been forced to shuffle that way before. Can you change the way you shuffle? I guess, why would you want to change the way you shuffle? If you're comfortable with it, you can absolutely change the way you shuffle. If you want to learn cooler shuffling techniques, if that makes you feel better and more connected to the energy of the card, I don't think it matters how you do it, as long as you're enjoying working with the tarot. I don't feel like you should feel like you need to shuffle in a particular way to get the correct answers, but by all means, test out new things, do something fun and new. Why not?
So for the shuffling, I was just trying to think, are there different card decks that I shuffle differently? And the answer is yes, there are. So while most card decks, I'm just like Maggie. That's why I get frustrated when cards are not stiff, because I'm really hard on my cards. I expect that when I shuffle, the cards are going to stay in one piece, but I really like bang them together when I shuffle. And by doing that, by shuffling like a crazy person, then cards fall out. And that's how I do it for me. But it's okay to, if you're feeling in the moment that maybe shuffling isn't quite the right thing, separate them a couple times and pick the cards off the top. And that's a perfect way to do it too. Just because you do it one way doesn't mean you can't change it. Just like how as we grow, we change. As you grow, you may want to change the way you shuffle, and that's perfectly fine. I was thinking about things that I have to shuffle differently. Certain cards, now that there's so many coming out, these cards fell in a, interesting. These cards fell in a specific geometrical pattern. So I would get my book and I would look up that geometrical pattern. And then I would check out how the cards flipped over and what they were. So this is, and Maggie, you just got a circle deck as well.
Yes, I have the tea leaf deck, which is a very straightforward deck, but a very awesome deck with a lot of cards if any of you guys are interested.
I do. I really like your deck. It's very straightforward, and just for like single answers that you just need a quick answer to, it's been really helpful. These, on the other hand, are past life cards. So if you're looking for really unique cards and you're not seeing what you want, check out the websites where you donate to people's projects. I can't think of what it's called right now. But you donate money to people's projects that you want to see fulfilled. And then if they get enough money, they fulfill the project. So this is where I got these cards. And this author has put out quite a few card decks, but these cards are they're so in depth. And I don't quite understand yet how to work with them. So what we've been doing is, there's stuff on each side. So what we've been doing is we've been putting like a rock out, and then what lands closest to the rock has been the answer. Or I say, pick a number between 1 and 5 or 1 and 4. And then whatever they pick is going to always be that number. So these are really hard to understand and learn because they're in a circle, but it's interesting because it makes you rethink the ways in which you're comfortable with your old cards and makes you look at it from a new perspective. So there are a lot of different card shapes coming out now. I've even seen like hexagons, I think. And then the other thing is, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you go on Amazon, you can buy these blank cards. They're super cheap. they're just blank, and you get tons of them. So if you wanted to make your own, you could totally make your own. I mean, you wouldn't even need this is fancy. You could just write it on a piece of paper, put those papers on the table and mess them up, and then pick one. But I started building a deck with one of my friends, and we haven't really gotten very far on it, but her daughter is doing the artwork for it. We came up with the words, and then we started channeling the information. Ra came forward to give information. Michael came forward to give information. But things have been so busy, we haven't had time to work on it. So definitely feel free to make your own cards. I think that's something that not enough people know is an option that exists, but it is. And they're very cheap on Amazon, and you can get a lot of them. And I was thinking about like cards that I have had that I bought and I didn't think were good cards. And what happened to them. So upstairs in my library, I have racks and racks and racks, and shelves of cards. They're full. They are completely full of cards, but I only use like 3 decks. I really, out of all of those, I only really use 3 decks. And some of the cards I bought where I didn't think I was going to like them, or I thought I was going to like them, and then I didn't like them, and they've just sat there. But one of the card decks that happened to, we just actually used the other night, and it's called the Earth Power Oracle cards. And had we not had that deck, even though we had we had the visions and we had the we would have probably spent weeks searching out the specific place that we needed to know about. But I just so happened to remember that I had this deck, and this is all different divine energy places on Earth. And so while you think it might not be good, or what is it really good for, it's very interesting, if nothing else, just to know what all the energy places are on Earth, including your backyard. You probably don't think your backyard is an energy place, but it is. But here's they have very serious things too, like the Temple of Isis and Aswan, the magnetic South Pole. And so if you look around, you can find card decks on pretty much any subject these days, and you feel drawn to them, but then you get home and you realize, wait a minute, why did I ever feel drawn to these in the first place? Hang on to them, because you will probably use them in the future. And the one thing that I've noticed about card decks is that a lot of them they only have a short run. So now some of them, like the tarot decks and stuff, those are always running. But like Doreen Virtue cards, if you hadn't gotten your Doreen Virtue cards when they were out, they're harder to find these days. Sometimes you can find the small ones. But it's good when you're drawn to something to get it. And then, I don't know, 10 years later, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to actually use it. And it worked. So don't discount, there's a reason that you're being drawn to something, even if it's not apparent right away. And then the other thing with cards is I got this deck. I actually wasn't going to even get these decks because they seemed a little dark for me, but I just felt really drawn to them. And then my husband, I was going to pick one of the 4 decks I had in my hand. And he's like, why don't you just get them all? I'll just get them all for you. And I was so glad that he allowed Spirit to talk to him, though, because it's just something I wouldn't do. And he was so adamant that I had to have all these decks. And when I got home, these are 2 different decks here. Let me show you what they look like. When I looked at these decks, this one's called Angelarium, the Oracle of Emanations. I was a little sad. I was like, ooh, that's upside down. I was like, where am I going to ever use these? These look absolutely terrifyingly scary. But it turns out that I really needed them. We really needed them. We use those. We use them all the time. And while the artwork is very detailed, the artwork is very detailed. Here's one called the Angel of Mercy. And at first glance, you think, oh my God, these cards are like terrible, absolutely terrible cards. They make you learn about the tree of life, and the Kabbalah. Yes. So I don't know how to pronounce it. So this is something that we're learning about right now because of these cards, and appearances aren't always what they seem. So let me see if I can find another one. Here's another one. So while these don't have reversed meanings written in the book, Maggie and I have associated them with reversed meanings. So if we get it upright, it talks about honesty, shame, and restitution. But if we get it reversed, then we reverse all those meanings, or we take it as this isn't achieved yet, or this needs to be achieved, or there's a blockage achieving these things. So this is probably the most surprising. These two have been the most surprising decks for me. Something that I was initially drawn to, didn't know why. Then I thought they were kind of scary. And then when I started working with them, I thought they were amazing. And I was so glad I had them. So I don't know. I've been rambling on. Do you have anything to add, Maggie?
You were very thorough with your explanation of kind of hoarding tarot decks and not knowing what you're going to do with them until a later date. I do the same thing. I have tarot decks on my shelf in the other room that are still in the plastic, but I was so drawn to them at the time and I felt like I need to have this. And at some point, maybe you have like a spending problem with tarot decks, but sometimes if you feel really, really drawn to a deck and then you get it at home and you're like, why did I even buy this? It's not speaking to me now. Just wait a little while. It might have a message for you for something down the future. That's happened to us a lot with our decks, but Temple spoke that very well already.
Yep. And if you're looking for, like, a lot of my issues, the reason why I would choose tarot over a oracle deck is because the tarot kind of lays it out as either good or bad, not necessarily bad, but like things that are going wrong or things you need to look at, the stuff that people don't want to realize or the stuff that people don't want to look at. Where a lot of these oracle decks, they only focus on good things. Mm-hmm. They don't really give you the truth of the matter. And so I would have to say that's my only issue with a lot of these decks. Now, if you're looking for a tarot deck that gets to the root of the problem, there's 3 of them that I've found so far. And of course, it's these 2 right here, the Angelarium and the Mausolea, and then this one right here, which is the Magic of You Oracle. And it's a little witchy oracle, but it pretty much tells you to get your head out of your ass and like get going. So I like it because sometimes when you're ready to look at yourself seriously and you know there's stuff that has to be fixed or looked at, you need some actual help, not just someone like smoothing over the problem thinking everything is butterflies. So I really highly suggest definitely this deck as well if you're looking for something a little more cut to the bone and get to the heart of the matter type of thing. So what else? I don't know. I was dream dictionaries. We have lots of dream dictionaries, but now when you have, like, I'm still that old fashioned type. I like to look at a book. So I have all these books in my library, but dream dictionaries and things you look up, like, it really changes your life when you realize you have all these abilities, but you're just not looking at them like their abilities. And once you do that, then your whole life changes. And you're like, oh, I have these questions and I can get answers now. If I don't feel like I'm really hooked up to like the oracle cards, I'll ask for a sign in the sky, make a cloud, something, or, there's so many easy ways to help you get the information or the questions answered that you need answered and doing it yourself. Because really that's what it comes down to. When you start relying on other people, which, like, I completely understand, sometimes you need to have that other person there. Like, I get it. But in the end, it really comes down to you, because you're the one who has to either accept the information or not accept the information. You're the one who has to look at yourself in the mirror honestly and work on yourself and the things that have to be worked on. You're the one who has to either take or leave the information. So it's really all about you. And the sooner you realize that it's all inside you and there's tools out there to help you work through it, and you don't have to necessarily reach out to someone, the stronger you will be on your path. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this.
And I think that you can use tarot and you can use the pendulum and you can use oracle cards and you can use all of these cool new agey spiritual tools, but it's really that the universe is constantly giving you symbols and constantly giving you information. If you look at a cloud, the universe, or however you want to say it, will give you a cloud and go into your subconscious to get you the message that you need. Everywhere are symbols from the universe. If you're not so stringent on yourself, being like, I have to pick the right tarot card to tell me the right thing, or I have to do this work in the right way, or I have to go searching for the symbol. The universe is always giving you symbols if you pay attention. So in my opinion, I struggle with being hard on myself to hear what I need to hear from the universe. And that pressure and that struggle will actually block you from receiving the information. If you go at it putting less pressure on yourself, if you go at it knowing that if I look at the sky, the universe is going to give me the same message or the same symbol that it would as if I shuffled my tarot deck 100 times and picked just the right card, then a lot of this stuff comes in a lot easier when you know that what Temple said at the beginning, the universe is always working your behalf. It's always trying to give you information, no matter what you're looking at, no matter what medium it is. And for the universe, everything is a medium. It's not just cards and pendulums and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's well said. Did you guys have any questions on the stuff that we talked about? Is there anything else you would like to talk about? Is there something that we missed? I was going to talk about like crystals and things like that, but honestly, that's not something that Maggie and I use too much in our work. Not that I haven't used them. I used to do a lot of crystal grids. I actually have many selenite wands under my computer constantly. And then during full moon, I take them and I clear them out. But everything that is a tool, whether it's rocks that hold this energy, or it's crystal skulls or your pendulum, that's just the tool. The information is actually coming through you. You're the one who holds it. It's not the crystal, it's you. And once you start realizing that rocks and things can assist you in maybe contributing a different type of energy or helping you with like a specific thought process, then that's great. Use it. But just understand that having a million crystals is not going to make you become this amazing guru. It's not. I mean, you could have a million crystals and it not do anything. And you could go to the beach and find one stone and have that be the right stone. So I think that it is so important. And I'm a huge fan of rocks. And Maggie's a huge fan of rocks and sticks. And and so it's not like we don't have these things, but to recognize that it's you. You're the awesome one. You're the one where all this information flows through. So Curious Light Channeler says, please share your crystal collection. That would be awesome in this video or another video. Underneath my desk right now, I have it's like this big. It's like a big tub, a big wooden tub. And it's got all my rocks just thrown in there. I used to use them all the time for like different grids, and I would take pictures of these grids, but I don't anymore. In fact, the only crystal stuff that I have done lately is I have a crystal skull. I have a life-size crystal skull, and I can't show that to you guys either. But as we go through this, we constantly are learning information. Is someone there talking to you?
No, I'm just.
I was like, I'm pretty sure somebody might be there talking to her. I can tell by Maggie's face. So we've been learning as we go along. And the thing that I've learned with crystal skulls is that no matter how big or small your skull is, they hold information, but that information also is you that hold the information, and it's just an access point for you. So I was taught how to properly, how do you say that? I was taught how to properly connect my crystal skull. Let's put it that way, to properly connect my crystal skull. So I was the controller of it. And then we found out that because I have pieces of me in many places, in many dimensions, someone else used that same piece of me and got it into the skull. So as we're learning these things, we're always learning new stuff. And so it's in the shop right now. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to share crystals and things at some point. I had this really, I had this green one that was like naturally shaped as a heart. And that was my most favorite one. And I just found it like that. But then it broke. And I was very sad. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that probably wraps things up, unless you guys have any other random topics you want to talk about or questions you want to ask. Can you think of anything, Maggie? My ears are burning.
You're probably getting a lot of information.
I know. I should probably check just to see if anybody's here and they want to say something. But do you have anything that you want to say or anything that you're thinking about?
Not really right now. I think this could be a multiple part talk, because we didn't even touch on other things about developing your different clairs and stuff like that. And your clairs come into your clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, all of claircognizance, all of those different things. They affect how you use these tools and how you perceive and receive information. But I think that is such a big topic that I don't know if we want to get into it today.
I don't know. It's up to you guys. You guys want us to keep going and talk about these things with the clairs, or should we save that for another topic?
Maybe we could save it for another time if people don't want to know about it. I'm also happy to pull cards for people. And if you guys have any questions, me and Temple can pull a card from you and explain how we're reading it and explain why we're getting the answers that we're getting. If you have any questions that you want answered from us.
That'd be a really good example, like firsthand example to show people how you're reading a card. So does anybody have any questions? And we can pull a card for the answer, and then we can explain how we got that information. I had all my notes written down, but I have since just closed my book because we apparently we don't need notes, or we just went off topic. But that means that we are enjoying ourselves. So.
Right. I think we had notes for like 6 hours worth of talking that we had written down too.
I know. Oh yeah, this is the other thing about the symbolism too that we had written down and I didn't touch on. Your symbolism, maybe we did, may not be somebody else's symbolism, and that's okay.
I don't think we touched on it specifically.
Okay. All that matters is that you know what it means to you, because that's how the universe will give you your answers, through what you know your own symbolism to be like. So for you, if a frog symbolizes, I don't even know what frogs symbolize. I picked like a really bad example.
If I saw a frog, joy would come to my head, but that might not be what frog means when you look it up.
Right, exactly.
But if that's what it means to me, don't try to override your own meaning of something that's meaningful with you with what the textbook meaning is, because you're trying to be right about it. If frog means something to you and you see frog, the universe is trying to show you that meaning of it if they know it's a significant symbol to you. So don't discount the things that are important symbolically to you and override them with universal symbolism. It may be doubly applicable. However, the meaning is always subjective. It could be this greater esoteric meaning, or it could be something very simple that applies only to you.
Right. Oh, Val's got a question. Will I find love in 2022? All right.
Book down. Will Val find love in 2022?
Well, this is interesting. The card came out sideways. We didn't talk about that.
You want to read yours while I'm shuffling?
I gotta find my. I have so many things I have to find mine, and I need to take a few moments to. So my cards for Val were not two. They were both cards were wand cards. So like I said, cups symbolize like love and relationships. What do wands symbolize?
Fire. For me, wands symbolize like passion, drive, those kind of things.
This is why it would be so weird to like have a live thing. Okay. All right. So this is what I got. I got the 8 of Wands reversed and the 2 of Wands sideways.
Oh, interesting.
So Maggie will probably read this completely different than I will. So to me, the two is a number of unity. It's a number of coming together, but it's on its side. We never talked about that. So it seems like there is an obstacle or something that is standing in the way. But if that obstacle can be removed, then that's why this one is either up or down, right side or reversed.
Well,
because it's a possibility.
Let's pull a clarifier for what the obstacle may be.
Yes, so we need an obstacle.
What may the obstacle be that this?
Because so the 2 of Wands, like right side up, talks about like how far you've come and that there's so much on the horizon. You just need to take the initiative to realize the ambition, and the fact that it's like a 2 can totally see, I can see how you could like have a relationship card out of that, but it was on its side. So it means that it's not a for sure, and it's not a bad thing. It's like in flux.
I agree.
That's how I would take it. But let's find out. I think the most important thing is, what is the obstacle standing in the way? I think we need to find that out.
I pulled a card for that. I pulled in my deck, in my Universal Celtic deck, I got the Chariot. It looks like this. I think that the energy that I'm reading off of these cards, well, my cards, I'll go into my cards after I pull different cards, is that you are kind of at a fork in the road right now in terms of your energy, in terms of where you are wanting your life to go. It seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but it seems like you have a choice to make now. It seems like you have a choice to make between doing what people expect you to do and doing what you've always done, and maybe forging out on a new path that is more in line with your hopes and dreams and desires, but is not what is accepted as the norm. And I think that when the time comes that you're able to make that choice for yourself, to choose you, the path of Val, which I think you're being pushed into that energy right now, that's when you're going to find this person. And I think that you're being pushed to make these changes in your life in 2022. I got the 4 of Pentacles. I got the Wheel. And I got the 7 of Pentacles. And that to me says, how do I explain the energy? This is how I read the cards. I'm not reading, well, the 4 of Pentacles means this, and the Wheel means this, and this means this. I go by the combined energy. So give me a second to form my thought about this. Okay, in my reading, this man is a partner that could come into your life. And this is the 4 of Pentacles. He is blind. He is only smelling the flowers. He cannot see them, but he is smelling how beautiful they smell. He's smelling them. He's just going off of his feeling about them, right? Or his scent of them. And in my mind, that's kind of you in this card. You are pregnant with all of these new ideas. You are pregnant with this spirit that is you. You're following your divine calling, your divine essence, and you feel very, I don't know, I'm not explaining this well, but you feel pregnant with that energy. And whenever you choose to birth that energy, this person who's going to come in your life is going to be able to feel that joy and feel that happiness and feel that authenticity coming off of you. So whenever you make the choice to put your energy solidly in you and let go of what all of these other people are thinking, you are going to magnetize this person. You are going to magnetize this partner to you. And I think that into this coming year, you've probably been thinking about that. You've probably been thinking about making a change. And when you do decide to make this change, your energy is going to be so unmistakable that the person who's right for you is going to be drawn to you as if you were blind. You know, he's going to feel his way to you. I hope that makes sense.
It did. Okay, so I also pulled cards and I was like, can we have a clarifier? So these are the two cards I got. And this is like an archangel deck. But when I look at this red, and I always still have to look these things up, like what color chakra is the red one? Because I was like, I think it's the root chakra. But it is. I looked it up. And so to me, the champion card with the root chakra tells me that at the base of things, at the very primal level of things, it's asking you to be bold, to take the challenge that comes to you, to strive ahead like this knight is striving ahead, knowing that what you choose for yourself, what you truly, truly want and choose for yourself is going to bring your knight in shining armor to you. And then I got, as far as what's holding her back, so it could be a blockage in the root chakra too. You could read it like that. This is Zachriel, and this is the angel of memory. So it seems like there may be some issue with some memory from the past, whether it's past of this current life that you're having or past experience. The way Maggie and I read the cards, read this card specifically, is that all those tendrils that this angel is holding, these are all memories. These are all ribbons. And these are all things that have to be dealt with. And when you deal with these memories, and this is actually a really good time for her to do this because of the full moon coming up. So like taking what scares you with moving ahead, and bravely being the champion and doing it, and letting these go, letting these issues with this memory go, so you can truly start new and and be grounded in what you do. So that's how I read that. I don't know. I don't know if and let's see, yes, the way I looked at it too is like, so this knight in shining armor is charging towards you, but you have all these memories floating there. They're like cords that are still attached to you. So if you can cut those cords of those memories and not ignore them, but work through them and heal them, and then and be the champion over them, then your knight is coming.
There's something in your past that is holding you back from doing what you want right now. This is what they're telling me. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong. They're telling me something happened before where whatever it is that you want to do now, whatever path you want to go down now, you don't feel safe about it because you feel like what happened last time is going to happen again. You need to let go of that thought and of that worry and that anxiety. What happened last time is not going to happen this time. You're not going to encounter the same heartbreak that you encountered last time. You're not going to be put down in the same way you were last time. You're a stronger version of yourself now. You know who you are now. You're not that person anymore. So if you can let go of those fears from the past that are holding you back, don't let the past hold you back now. Don't let it hold you back from doing what you want to do now. Use this full moon energy to release whatever you're afraid of or worried about, so that you can charge down this new path with confidence and knowing that it's going to work out. They just keep saying, don't let the fear of what happened in the past keep you from going where you want to go, because this is a beautiful road for you. So if that resonates, please take that and do what you will with it. But they're like pushing that through me right now to say to you.
So I also asked for another card for you. But this card came out and I wasn't sure the way it flung out, if it was supposed to be reversed or right side up. So what I do in that case is I take my pendulum. I have a little space thing with like a little spaceman on my pendulum. And I ask, is this card supposed to be right side up? Is this card supposed to be reversed? All right, so it's supposed to be reversed. So then, and I find this very interesting because it's your symbols, Maggie, of your card.
Oh yeah.
So I find it interesting that that came up, because like 1 in a million chances that I don't really have those symbols. So you may also really be connected to that Celtic druid, and there may be something there, whether it's a helper from the other side or whether it's just learning about it, that may help you through this. So for these cards, again, you can go by your intuition. He's a wizard. He's sitting there. He's pondering. He looks to be in front of either like a vault or a star portal of some sort. And these ones do have reversed meanings. So if he's reversed, if he's upright and he's thinking, and thinking is good. If he's reversed, it may be too much thinking. I don't know. Let's see what it says. The Wizard of Awareness comes to you in the position to warn you that too much force behind a desire for a specific outcome robs you of the true and full experience. Step back, take your energy away from the situation, and focus on gratitude for the ever-changing conditions in life. Are you perhaps trying to control the outcome of something because you don't trust in your highest good? Meditate, be still, and your answer will come without any effort on your part. Be neutral observer. You will see this moment as a small marker on the map of life's journey. So it happens sometimes where we want something so bad that we focus on that end outcome, but we miss the stuff in between to get us there. Like what we have to clear out and heal to get us there. And so sometimes we focus on the wrong, we don't realize we're doing it. It's not that it's wrong, but it holds our journey up with what we choose to focus on, and when we don't quite understand what's going on. And that's why we want to be here for you. So like if there's something you don't understand, maybe we can help give you a different outlook on it. So let me see. Jody would like to know what direction my spirit team wants me to go in with my career.
Oh, that's a great question.
Curious Light Channel says that's the coolest pendulum ever. Thank you. I made it myself. I did. All right. So Jody's question is, your team want to go with career? Let me think here.
Just as we're reading now, I was using this deck for the first reading, and someone is in my head. I don't feel like I want to use this one anymore, and my hand reached for this one, so I'm using this one because probably a spirit has the more correct symbolism or answer in this deck. So don't feel like you have to be rigid with yourself. If the deck is doesn't feel as fun, or you feel like you're called to something else, switch it up. It doesn't matter.
All right. Question is, what is Jody's direction for her career? What is her highest timeline? What is the direction for Jody's highest timeline in her career?
Got it. What is I have cards. If it's okay if I go, Temple, unless you have something to say.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I have the High Priestess along with the Two of Cups reversed. It seems to me like you are being drawn. It could be something that you want to start an entrepreneurial endeavor of your own, or you're being drawn to more spiritual work, or it could be both. But it also seems like with this Two of Cups reversed, that there's someone in your life that has ideas about what you should do and is trying maybe to collaborate with you or maybe direct you in the way that they think is right. The fact that this card is reversed tells me that that person, maybe it's not that they don't have your highest intentions in mind, but trying to mix their energy and their advice into what it is that you need to be doing is not going to work. You need to be solid in your knowing of things. You need to be solid in your sovereignty, and that you can go forward and manage whatever business that you need to do or that you're inspired to do on your own. This card is really showing me that you're being guided to be your own boss in some kind of way. And for whatever reason, it feels like it's some kind of spiritual endeavor. So know that you can do it, and know that you don't need anybody else's, you don't need anyone else as a crutch, or you don't need anyone else to lean on. You got it all within you. You're the High Priestess. She doesn't need anyone else because she knows all the wisdom is within her, and she knows that all the capability is within her. And she knows that she brings down higher divine information from the higher realms all on her own, and she doesn't need anyone else's confirmation or approval to do so. So if you're looking to do that, or if you felt that pulling from your spirit team, they really want you to put the trust and faith in yourself to do what is in your passion or in your inspiration to do right now, if you want to have a change in careers going forward. I also got, I pulled a card from this Galactic Heritage deck. I don't have the box, but I pulled the first card, called Beyond Wisdom. So I think that you are being called to share wisdom from beyond this realm, from the higher realms. I think that you get that information quite readily and quite naturally. And I think Spirit might be telling you it's time to begin thinking about sharing your gifts and your energy with people in a career, in the way of your career, if that's what you feel inspired to do now.
Oh my gosh, it's right here. I have the book, but actually that's really funny you said that, because I'll show you what I got. So it's probably not okay. So I got this card first, and then I got this card. So I got the Moon, and I got 10 of Wands. All right. So the way I look at this, the Moon card, is the Moon is like a feminine energy, right? And there's black and white. So like, are you looking at things in black and white, or are you looking at things with an imagination? And a lot of times this card is more mystical, and it talks about like the feminine intuition, the feminine knowledge of having a very high what's the word? Imagination, having a very good imagination, being in contact with other worlds, other vibrations, other realms. And so it's really this choice of like, you have it. What do you want to do with it? This card right here, wrong one. This one, if this was right side up, this guy looks like he's trying to hold the tower up, or he's trying to hold up a pedestal. So he's like got way too much that he's trying to do. But reversed means that he is not doing a really good job, like either holding the status quo or holding something in place that really needs to fall. So you can do this. So you can use your innate gifts that you have. It seems like, I would agree with Maggie. It seems like they're saying that you kind of know what you want to do, and it may not be a typical a typical job. But they're saying that with the moon card that you're very qualified if you want to step into this next portion of your life and do something that is not typical, where you're using your gifts and your intuition and your abilities. So the other thing that like this reversed card talks about is like focusing on things too much, like what kind of the same thing with the other question, where like when you focus on it, sometimes it stalls you and makes like an easy, just following your heart easy, something really hard, because then you're like because then you're juggling these choices, these black and white choices, when you are already kind of drawn to where you need to go. I want to look this card up because I don't use this deck very often. I also got this 47. So 10, here, let's do it this way. 10 is endings and beginnings. If you remember one number, remember 10. It's so simple, like endings and beginnings. So to me, if you stop holding this up, if you stop holding up this pedestal, this tower, this idea of what you should be doing, and just let it go, it could be an ending and a beginning for you. Let me look up the sacred pool. I used to use these cards all the time, and I haven't used them in a long time. So like to me, well, let me get the number first, and then I'll kind of show you why it's a little confusing to me. 47, 46, 47. Okay, so this card came reversed, and I will try to. So it's called the Sacred Pool, and it looks like there is elements or magic, or this would be like a good pool for like gazing in, and sacred waters of like the flow of waters pushing you in a direction if you just allow the flow versus trying to hold up the pillar. But then because it's reversed, I wanted to just kind of double check what they're saying. It says, when it's reversed, it can be difficult to overcome denial when there is a reward for staying where you are. If you can't accept and love yourself, you remain trapped, wearing a false mask of victimhood. The benefit of embracing denial and the victim's mask is that you never have to take a real risk. Dimming your light serves no one. Turning away from the truth that is reflected in the stillness of the sacred pool keeps you in denial, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Such vain efforts lead to a tedious, boring existence. Take the risk and shine your beautiful light into the world. Look in the mirror and see the truth. Surrender the need to self-sabotage. Remember that you have responsibility, not just to yourself, but to the divine spark within you. Courage is not an absent fear. Accept the discomfort of seeing with clear eyes, and you'll soon find the wondrous adventures are waiting for you. Step into your magical life and take a leap of faith. So you definitely have a magical life coming to you. You just have to accept it. And then 4 and 7 is 11. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, the magic number 11. Mm-hmm. So that is an example of how Maggie and I read the cards using imagery, using numbers. And like, I mean, I could even go further in saying like, these look like jackals. So the jackal for the underworld is Anubis, and Anubis holds these pieces of you that either you like flaked off or that you discarded somewhere. And so if it's a piece of you that thinks that you can't do it or that you're not good enough, you could work with Anubis to have you see that piece that you originally had, so he can give that piece back to you. So Curious Light Channeler says, I have an off-topic question. I was wondering if you guys have ever seen any UFOs before in person. Do you have any experiences about that?
I only have one, and I never actually saw a UFO. It was some years ago, right after my awakening. I was at the beach and at nighttime looking at the sky with my my husband for you, my now husband for UFOs, and we weren't seeing anything. And I said, please, I just found out that I'm a star seed. I want to see a UFO. And I didn't see a UFO, but the whole sky lit up with this blinding, blinding light. And I almost thought that I went blind for a second. And then it just cleared out. And I asked my husband, did you see that? And he was like, did I see what? There was nothing there. So whoever was up in the sky blinded my vision with this light to show me that they were up there. And that is the one and only experience and confirmation I've ever had from a UFO.
That's amazing, Maggie. I never knew that story. Oh my goodness.
I guess I never told it to you.
No, that's adorable. Maggie's experience is much more uplifting than my experiences. So my experiences, unfortunately, are not typical of what people expect when they want to see UFOs, because of the super soldier program. So I used to have one that would come up and check up on me when I was little. And I remember one time I had a friend over and we were like in the back of the family room playing with toys and things. And I remember standing by the window because it was so close to the window, like the Curious Light Channel, like the emoji that you put in. It was so close that I could see the little lights in the metal of the ship. And I think now that I understand it a bit better, I think what happened was they probably froze everything and then took me out for a bit just as a checkup, just to see how I was doing, and then put me back. I don't remember actually being on that ship, but it was the same ship many times that would come and check up on me. And then it would be this moment of like, for me, things would just stand still for a couple seconds, but I think there's a lot of things that happened in the couple seconds. The only other UFO experience I had, I was with my mom once, and she was taking me to piano lessons, and I pointed to something in the sky because I was sure it was a ship, and it was like just dusk. So the stars hadn't quite come out yet, but I said, Mom, look at that. Look at that. I think it's a UFO. And my mom like would never have any of this stuff. And she's like, you're right. I think it is a UFO. And so I was like, really? Like, you just said that? So as far as seeing UFOs in person, yes. Now I've had a lot of experiences where I've been in ships, but seeing it up close, that's probably like the one experience of seeing it up close. So that's a good question. I like off-topic questions.
You always have such great questions, Curious Light Channeler.
Yes, you do. Okay, so it is 8:01. We've been on for quite a while, and it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed tonight, and I hope this is giving you guys a little bit of perspective on how to delve into your own types of readings with cards and other tools, and not feel like you have to stick to some silly book or definition of how things are read, or what it means for the person you're reading, because that is all based on energy and based on you as the channel for the information.
Yes.
So you do you, because you are awesome, and the world needs you, and the world needs you to be different, and the world needs you to be your own person, and the world needs you to be okay with that and really stand strong in that. And the more you guys can do that, the more amazing experiences that you guys will witness in your life, because then you're working with the universe, not against it.
Yeah.
So, thank you. I'm pretty sure I just channeled that. So in any case, you guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to our next session. We have had some of our people on vacation lately. Believe it or not, they take vacation too. Mm-hmm. So we look forward to getting back into channeling with Ra and channeling with Michael. And we said we would channel with Marilyn Monroe. But we have to allow them their vacation as well. So Other than that, we love you guys very much. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And we hope you have a wonderful week.